Hey, what's up guys? Brad with the Squared Away Everyday channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to heat your rooftop tent or your ground tent. Either way, the construction, the materials, all that kind of stuff is generally going to be the same. Even if you have an iCamper, which is like a semi-hard side on your rooftop tent, it's generally going to be the same to heat those tents. So if you haven't had a chance yet, please go ahead and like the video if you dig it, sub to the channel, and let's take a look at it. All right, so when it comes to heating our rooftop tent, there's two different schools of thoughts and really just two different ways you can go about it. One is going to be to heat the air. The other one is going to be to heat the person or the people inside of the tent. Either one, you can go either way. You can even do kind of a combination of both, which is what I like to do. And I'll let you know kind of at the end of the video what I typically do. But let's start with heating the air. And just so you know, I've had a ton of experience with this. One of my businesses is kind of a 50-50 indoor-outdoor shop. And so where I have to staff my staff sometimes, I've had to deal with this for years and years and years. So I have a good amount of experience with this subject in general, not just with rooftop tents or tents or anything like that. So stand by because I got a lot of info for you. Now, when we're talking about heating the air, there's a couple different ways you can go. Probably the most pervasive way, the most common way people like to do it is the Mr. Buddy heater, which is just pretty much propane. And it's just a little heater that kind of it's a combustion heater is what it is. And you can run that thing all night, and you're going to have to because tents are porous. And so you lose your heat like that. So if you want to run that thing and you're relying on that for your heat, you're going to have to run it the entire night. Now, things I don't like about the Buddy heater, it is effective. I will say that it is effective. And they have some safety stuff in place to actually make them a little bit more safe. Like if they tip over, they're supposed to turn off. They've got like a low oxygen sensor in there where if they sense like too much, I think it's carbon monoxide or maybe it is an oxygen sensor, I don't know. It'll turn off. And you know, they at least try. You can get these things for like under $100. It's not that big a deal. And they are effective. What I don't like about them is that they're unsafe. I think they're unsafe. I know there's a lot of people that'll fight me tooth and nail to tell me that the Mr. Buddy heaters are safe. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly, and I would bet money that I've used a Mr. Buddy heater more days than you have. I just have used them a shitload, and I've had multiple staff tell me from different years who didn't even know each other that they would get woozy or lightheaded or whatever using those kind of heaters. And I don't like them. I just don't like them. And that's literally a indoor-outdoor building. Like half the building is completely open to the outdoors, and it's right by the outdoor opening, and it's still people would complain about that kind of stuff. So I've tried it intermittently over the past few years, and you know, it never works out. So don't use the Mr. Buddy heater, in my opinion, especially when you're using it in a tent. It feels like, I'm not sure if it's the propane gas or what it is, but the air gets like heavy and muggy, and I can't really put my finger on it, but it's not comfortable to me. It's just not comfortable. The air quality feels like shit. The safety is not there. They're pretty unsafe in my opinion. And I don't know. Go ahead and try it if you want to. They're under $100. I know a lot of people will die on that hill trying to argue me that they are safe. I disagree. So agree to disagree. Use that or don't. I don't care. I do care, actually. I prefer that you don't. But anyway, next one you could use would be a diesel heater. So these diesel heaters have kind of come onto the market within the past few years now, and they're getting really popular. You can pick these guys up for less than $200. I just bought one. I haven't used it. I just bought one for like $180, and I have it on very good authority from some people who really use the shit out of this thing and really camp a lot. People that I know that it is a super good product, and it's really, really effective at warming a tent. So they're effective. They're really good if it's going to be super cold. The downsides to a diesel heater is going to be, well, you're going to have to run it the entire night, just like the Mr. Buddy heater, if you want that warmth throughout the entire night. And so they're going to have a bit of noise to them. They're quieter than just like a generator is going to be, but they still have a noise to them. So if you're trying to get out in the middle of nowhere, like all of us are, and really just enjoy the outdoors and the serenity of it, that's one big reason I don't really like the diesel heaters in general. I just don't really like the noise of it. Aside from that, you're going to have to carry an alternate fuel source. So if you're not already running a diesel vehicle, you'll have to carry a different type of fuel source to be able to fuel that heater there. So that's just another thing that's just kind of a pain in the ass. I don't like that. Now, if I end up going camping where I just think it's way too cold to run my other system, then sure, I'll go ahead and do it. That's why I bought the other one. But I will say the missus, she's not too keen on the idea of running a diesel heater just because of the fumes and the exhaust and all that. Now, granted, these diesel heaters have a really good exhaust on them. It's like a legit exhaust, and the heater sits outside the tent and you kind of like vent into the tent. You duct into the tent and you get your heat and it'll heat it the entire night, which is great. And, I've had the conversation with my wife, it's safe for this reason or that reason, but for whatever reason, she's not comfortable with it. And if I have to be honest, I'm like 95% on board with the diesel heaters, but I do have like a 5%, you are using a combustion device to heat that thing. And it was like less than $200. And I don't know. I have slight reservations about it, despite all the people saying how awesome it is. Again, these are going to be less than $200. I just bought this one. Get the one with the digital display. And if you really want to, go ahead and get the USA made one. I think it's like $1,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So you can certainly do that as well. Are they effective? They're highly effective, and I haven't heard anything bad about them to this point. So go ahead and try them. I'm not sure in terms of the air quality, like if it still feels like a heavy air like the Mr. Buddy heater does. I doubt it. I really do doubt it because of the way that whole thing is set up. So diesel heater, great option, great way to go. Now, another way that you could heat the air would be something like this. This is just a small 100-watt heater I got off Amazon. I think it's called My Heat. Yeah. And it's just super basic. It's about 100 watts-ish, somewhere in that ballpark. And they're great. Is it going to be as effective as like the Mr. Buddy heater or the diesel heater? No, it's certainly not. It's not going to put out that much hot air. But it will put out enough hot air to kind of take the edge off, if you will. So it's good for that. For me personally, I'll use this little 100-watt heater just to kind of preheat the tent at night and heat the tent in the morning, like right before you get out of, the covers and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I use it for. And it's good for that. It's good for that. Maybe you're getting an extra 10 degrees when you put this guy in there. And I haven't put, a thermometer on it or anything, but I would guess if I had to say, you're probably getting around 10 degrees warmer inside the tent, maybe a little less from the 100-watt heater there. Now, remember, it goes away quickly. These are porous tents, and I don't care if you've got an iCamper or what have you. The heat is going to dissipate. It just is what it is. Now, if we want to retain that heat better, we can go ahead and get like a internal insulation for the tents, like iCamper. And I keep mentioning iCamper because I have one. I'm familiar with it, but I'm sure other companies do it too. There's like I think it's a wool interior layer that you can put inside of these tents, and it'll retain heat. It's not going to generate heat, but it'll retain heat better. So maybe you're not putting out so much fuel to power the Mr. Buddy heater or the diesel or the little electric heater there. So just something to consider there. You can use those, but they're just going to retain heat better. They're not going to heat up anything. So you still got to heat the tent for it to retain that heat in the first place, which you will naturally generate a little bit of heat. But anyway, I digress. So there we go. You can heat the air, or you can heat the people. Now, in the past, I've had really, really good success with parabolic heaters. And a parabolic heater is like what you see at Costco or Home Depot. And you go in there and it's like a little aluminum dish, and it just kind of reflects heat onto you, and it'll heat you up. And they're very, very effective. I have those running at one of my businesses, and it gets used to great success. And so that's a good option. You can certainly do that. The problem is they take a lot of power. They take a ton of power to run those things. And so for us being off grid, it's probably not an option that we can really consider. So you can move on to something like this, an electric blanket. This is just an electric throw. It's got a few different, levels for heat, like low, medium, and high. And it's pretty freaking great. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty effective. I've used this particular one right here, maybe down to like 25 degrees. And being that it's a throw, there's a couple good sides to it. It uses less power, but it doesn't cover 3 people super great. So when we're camping in the tent, I'm on one side, the kiddo's in the middle, and then my wife's on the other side. And so this blanket is kind of like, half and half on the missus and I. So that's how that goes. And it's effective though. It will keep you very, very warm. Now, if you have a good mattress that has some sort of R value to it, or you've got like a good sleeping pad that has some really good R value to it, and when I say R value, I mean it retains its heat, you can probably just go with an electric blanket. That's going to be awesome for you. If you don't, you may want to opt for some sort of like a heated mattress pad. That's going to be a good option for you as well. Just, tomato, they're generally the same thing. I like going with the electric heated blanket because, generally I'm using the Xped Duo mattress underneath us, and that has it retains its warmth pretty good, and it doesn't get too cold below you. So anyway, that's just me. So my system, what I like to do is I'll preheat the tent in the morning with this guy. Right? I'll just run it for 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. Preheat it just so that you're not super crusty ice when you're getting off the sheets and stuff, which you shouldn't have that. Vent your tent. So I'll preheat in the morning, or I'll preheat at night with that 100-watt heater. And then throughout the night, I'll just run the electric blanket. Now, the problem is with the electric stuff in general, is that you're going to need some way to power that. So on the cheap end, you can go with something like a solar generator or an electric generator. Back in the day, we used to call them battery banks. And I don't know, it makes me feel old. I'm not old. I don't even look old, but I feel old saying that. Battery banks is what they used to be called. So make sure you've got one that's going to be sufficient to power these things. I would recommend no less than 1,000 watt hours. That's just me personally, or 100 amp hours. One or the other when you're talking your solar generator or battery bank, essentially is what it is. So that's what I would go with. No less than 1,000 watts or 100 amp hours. And that's a totally different video for a different day, but that's the cheapest way to get into it, is one of those. In a different video, we'll talk about 12-volt systems and auxiliary batteries and power management systems for those batteries and dual batteries, and we'll talk about all that shit because it's a big topic in itself. But anyway, you got to have a way to power these things. So this blanket here, I think it'll draw about 100, maybe up to 160 watts, but it kind of calms down. It seems like, after running for a few minutes, 10, 15 minutes, it'll calm down to 80, 90 watts ish, maybe 100 ish, somewhere in that ballpark. And it seems like, just going off of memory, maybe 80, 90 watts is kind of what it hovers around. So, and that's on a low to medium setting. So anyway, that's what I like to do when I'm talking about heating my rooftop tent or your ground tent, whatever you've got. If this video is beneficial to you at all, or you just liked it, go ahead and hit the like button. Give me a sub, that'd be awesome. And we'll see you in the next one.